Story number 1. I'm going to share with you a story about how I once visited a close friend on business. After a busy day, we returned to his home towards evening. Michael has been happily married for 11 years. His wife, Victoria, is a slender and attractive woman. Throughout the evening, we couldn't help but exchange glances full of admiration. Perhaps she saw something promising in me. As expected, a delightful dinner was prepared for us. We enjoyed our drinks, and the atmosphere was pleasant. I had a return ticket for the next evening, so there was no need to stay in the hotel overnight. Michael and Victoria live in a one-bedroom apartment. One room serves as a nursery and is usually occupied by their 8-year-old daughter, who is visiting her grandmother that night. The other room serves as both a living room and an adult bedroom. This layout is very effective because during the day, you may not even notice that it is a bedroom. At night, the spacious sofa folds out, providing a comfortable sleeping place. However, this sofa takes up a significant portion of the room. They originally thought of putting me in the nursery, but due to Michael's excessive drinking, he ended up sleeping in the nursery. I considered lying on the floor, but Victoria insisted that a guest should not sleep on the floor. Instead, we both lay down on the couch together. Victoria positioned herself against the wall, and I on the edge. As we got ready for bed in the dim light, I had a feeling that something might not go as planned. Although I tried to calm down, I found it difficult to fall asleep in my new surroundings. Despite this, I lay quietly without turning over. After about 30 minutes, Victoria got up to go to the bathroom. When she returned, she lay down with her back to me. We shared one large blanket, and as I began to doze off, I instinctively snuggled into her. Unable to resist, Victoria turned to me and our eyes met. In that moment, everything was conveyed through our gaze and words became unnecessary. As soon as our lips met, a wave of passion swept over us, and sleep was the last thing on our minds. The night passed unforgettably. When I woke up the next morning, I found Victoria missing. I went outside for a smoke, going over the events of the previous night in my mind. When I returned, I found Victoria already preparing breakfast. Noticing my presence, she winked at me, to which I responded with a smile. Our friend Michael woke up and asked how we had spent the night. I simply replied that I had a great night's sleep. After my reply, Victoria just smiled. We ate breakfast, and Michael went about his business. Victoria and I stayed behind. Before I knew it, I was next to Victoria and hugged her tightly. What was going through my head at that moment, I can't say. Perhaps the blood had rushed from my brain. Nevertheless, the fact remains that we repeated our actions. Later, I lay back and watched TV while Victoria hurried to the shower. Soon Michael returned. We chatted for a while. I packed my things and headed home. After arriving home and meeting my wife, I was relieved that Michael hadn't found out about our actions, as that would have led to an awkward situation, potentially ruining our friendship and causing a scandal. Fortunately, it all worked out and everyone was happy, especially Victoria. Story number 2. I am very pleased to see you on my channel. Your support in the form of likes, subscriptions, and comments really means a lot to me and motivates me to create new videos. Enjoy watching. Linda, my youngest daughter, got sick. I was at a loss as to what to do. Normally, Anna, my wife, would immediately give medicine, apply compresses, and call for help if any of our children were unwell. Right now, however, Anna is out of town, and because of the quarantine in the office, everyone is working remotely. Ronald, our oldest, is in school right now, so I refrained from calling him. Anna was also unavailable. I contacted the nearest medical center and arranged for a doctor to come to our home. They assured me that it was probably nothing serious and there was no need to alert anyone. However, I did not know how to care for a sick child alone. The doorbell rang. I greeted the doctor, expecting to hear a male voice, but to my surprise, it was a woman. I opened the door feeling surprised. I expected to meet a doctor who fit the stereotypical image in my mind, a 50-year-old woman dressed in a white coat, and so on. However, in front of me stood a young girl, about 27 years old, looking well-groomed and neat. Her blonde hair was neatly styled, and she was dressed in stylish and well-maintained clothes that were not stained. "Hello, please come in." "Yes, please give me your coat. The baby is in there," I said. The girl walked into her daughter's bedroom, leaving behind a subtle floral scent. It would be wonderful if all doctors were like her. Despite her small salary, she's so well behaved, I pondered. I followed her into the room, even though my presence was optional. Normally, Linda was afraid of strangers, but here it seemed normal. They were talking, and the girl was writing something down in a notebook. Did she have a special position so that her slender legs were in full view? Suddenly she spoke. It was just a little cough, nothing to worry about. I left the name of the prescribed pills on the table. "Wait, please don't go." I glanced at her name tag, and my mouth went dry. Why had I even looked in there in the first place? She was so beautiful. I walked into the kitchen, made a cup of tea, and turned to her with a faint smile. "You didn't inform me in what order the medication should be taken, did you?" Without pausing, I stepped closer. "And in what dosage?" "And with what?" Even closer. Since my mind is occupied with work, I won't recall the original instructions. Now my voice was quiet, soft, and my thoughts were far from work. Melissa seemed to be trying to back away, but her body language completely contradicted her words. "What are you doing?" I didn't let her finish. My hand rested gently on her slender waist. In her widened eyes, I caught a glimpse of excitement and longing. Despite her youth, she answered me easily. My palm slid up her graceful neck. I marveled at the warmth and smoothness of her skin. A faint blush appeared on her cheeks. In an instant, her elegant hair cascaded down her tightly arranged style. My hands explored every inch of her body, making her even more shy. We were going to have many enjoyable, and I assumed, new experiences that day. Story number 3. When my wife and I received notification of heating problems at our country home, I admit I was not thrilled. However, my mood completely changed when I learned that it would be Sarah, not me, who would solve the problem. For 14 years of married life, we were constantly spending time together, constantly going on joint vacations. In general, she was always there for me. It wasn't that I didn't love Sarah or didn't want to be with her for a few days, but the thought that I could be alone made me genuinely happy. I took advantage of the opportunity by going to the store, filling up the car with gas, and having some fun at the club. Upon returning home around midnight, I found our Labrador, Mike, casting a condescending glance at me from the bathroom. Silently cursing, I quickly changed my clothes again. I had to take the dog out for a walk, or he would trash the house during the night. The weather was already nasty, damp, muddy, and raining. Suddenly Mike, usually calm, barked all over the street. Why would he do that? When I looked up, I saw a man standing in front of me. I don't know why I was so surprised, but it was definitely a woman. I spoke up. "I'm sorry, Mike doesn't bite." "Maybe you shouldn't go out at night alone." "Probably had too much to drink or something, but I've never been known for chivalry before." "Your dog." I was scared. She smiled faintly. "Shall I walk you out?" I was almost dumbfounded at my own audacity. The girl hesitated. I resolutely approached her, taking her hand. Believe me, no one should be alone on a night like this. My voice was almost a growl. I regarded the stranger in the dim light of the street lamps as we walked somewhere, probably toward her house. I didn't know. She was about 35 years old. She looked young, dark-skinned, brunette with a nice hairdo. Big, dark eyes. She was a hottie. My wife's not that pretty. I compared it in my mind. Her small palm, in a silk glove, confidently held my hand. and it seemed that she was delighted with such an unplanned walk. We approached a tall house. I hesitated awkwardly. "Come in. I have fresh buns at home. I baked them myself today." "No one's home, if that's what you're worried about." We started using the first name while we were walking. I followed her, and I remembered I didn't even know her name. But she read my mind. "I'm Jessica, and you are?" "I'm Victor." Swaying her hips slightly, she walked into the kitchen. Quietly following her, I stopped behind her so that my lips were a few inches from her long, swarthy neck. Jessica giggled, sensing my presence. I boldly wrapped my arms around her slender waist. The subtle scent of floral perfume intoxicated me. I didn't remember unbuttoning her light-colored cardigan and tossing it carelessly to the floor. All I could remember was what was waiting for me underneath. All night, we indulged in what some might call the joy of life for a married man. The memories of those few happy hours have long been imprinted on my mind. Story number 4. Hi, I'm glad to see you on my channel. Show your support by liking, subscribing, and leaving comments. Your participation means a lot to me and motivates me to create new videos. Enjoy watching. Okay, William, I gotta go. Nicole's loud voice echoed down the landing. I married her 8 years ago and have to put up with her. Nicole is actually pretty cool and fashionable, but sometimes she annoys me to the point where I can lose my temper. Like now. She's having a sleepover with her girlfriends, so I'm gonna have a guys' night out. I'm gonna invite some bachelor friends over. We'll have a drink, talk about women, and finally play a console. I'm all set, and the guys will be here tonight. All that's left is to go get some appetizers. However, I'm not in the mood to go outside in this pouring rain. But it's time to go. I came in all wet, angry, cold, and hungry. To make a long story short, things didn't go as planned. I was never allowed to get to my apartment in peace. As soon as I stepped off the elevator, I heard a familiar voice. A soft female voice. "William, why are you so wet? You couldn't order delivery?" It was Brenda, our neighbor. She had become a widow 5 years ago, but didn't dwell on it. She was always there when Nicole and I needed help, whether it was babysitting or borrowing sugar. She's offered to help now. "Please come in, at least let me dry you off. You're too scary to look at." She may be young, but she's just teasing. I watched her. She was wearing soft house slippers and a silk robe. Who was I to say no? Brenda led me into the kitchen and handed me a warm, dry sweatshirt, which I really appreciated. "William, would you like a whiskey?" "Yeah, just a little bit." After persuading Brenda to join me for a drink, I poured the whiskey into glasses. As we chatted about various topics, I found her very easy to talk to. I discreetly texted the guys not to come over since I already had plans for the evening. Why? She's amazing. Compared to my wife, she's a star. With her milky skin, slim hips, and light makeup, she's easy to fall in love with. Putting the bottle away, she half turned toward me, causing the robe to slip off her shoulder, exposing her collarbones and a thin strip of lacy lingerie. It was too much for me. "Brenda, are you sure?" My hand was only a few inches from the edge of her robe. She seemed to be amused by the situation. She asked with a mischievous grin, patting her eyes innocently. "What is it, William?" Her body language changed from hinting to clearly indicating what she wanted from me. "You have a gorgeous apartment. Would you mind showing me the other rooms? Maybe a walk-in closet or an office." She teased me sincerely. "If any of those rooms have a bed, I'd settle for a bathroom," I said in a quiet tone. "In that case, maybe you should see the bedroom." There was a sigh at the end of her reply, elicited by my actions. "I'm sure the kitchen table will suffice. Until we meet again."